To invite me on a day like this, what a terrible daughter you are. Your mom would be sad. But we won't see each other for a while after this. And at least for now, we can forget the sadness. On the day of my mother's funeral, I peeked into the family room and saw my husband and sister entangled, with their lower bodies exposed. I'll make you forget your sorrow, just for now. I feel bad for Emma. Although I couldn't see her face, I could feel a faint smile in my sister's voice. It's okay, she's strong. And compared to Isabella, no matter how much she cries, she'll just look ugly to me. Hey, she's still my sister, you know. I couldn't forgive the two of them laughing softly together, and in that moment, I was ready to burst open the door. I almost dropped the smartphone I was holding. But the next words from my sister stopped me in my tracks. No way. It can't be true. My anger, the trembling of my hands, the pounding of my heart, all rapidly calmed down. I'll never forgive them. Just like when I entered, I quietly left the room. I had no doubts about what I was about to do. I didn't care if my sister's life was over. After all, I'll never forgive her for as long as I live. I am Emma Smith, 25 years old. I work in product development for a cosmetics company. I'm really fulfilled, having landed a job I was interested in. Last year, I married John, whom I'd been dating since college. We met as members of the same tennis club at university. Hey, why did you choose this club, Emma? Wasn't there another tennis club? Yeah, I heard the other one was more about social drinking. I probably wouldn't get along with people who are into that. Plus, I genuinely wanted to enjoy tennis. Really? Me too. I'm basically introverted, so I'm not great with people. During the welcome event in the year following my enrollment, I had a chance to talk to John, who happened to sit next to me. John seemed nervous talking to women, so without such occasions, we might never have spoken until graduation. To me, he was a rare case of a guy I clicked with. After that day, we started talking and playing tennis together whenever we met, and eventually, it turned into a relationship. I was John's first girlfriend, but I could see why he hadn't had one before. John, you're tall and not bad looking, so why don't you pay more attention to fashion? Eh? I'm just not interested in fashion. Anything's fine as long as I can wear it. I don't care what others say. Even though his anything-goes attitude would be admitted, John was honestly quite unfashionable. After we started dating, I took him shopping and introduced him to my regular hair salon, where he used to cut his own hair. Being over 6 feet tall, John easily became a handsome man with just these changes. Sometimes, other girls showed interest in John, but his introverted nature kept them at bay, and our relationship continued smoothly. 2 years into our career lives, John proposed. At a restaurant with a nighttime view, he casually took out a ring and said in the most straightforward way, "Will you marry me?" It was so typically John, and I was delighted. However, I had one worry about getting married. It was the presence of my sister Isabella, who is 2 years older than me. So far, Isabella had mocked every friend or partner I brought home as uncool. If I brought home someone I wanted to marry, I was sure she would make me feel terrible again. I felt this way, and it weighed heavily on my mind. Isabella and I probably were different types. Isabella, resembling our mother, had a look of adorable face with plump lips, and she hung out with flashy, outgoing friends. As for me, I resembled my father, a clean-cut and men-like face with thin lips. I'm a science-minded girl with fair skin and silver-rimmed glasses. Although we were similar in height and build, our vibes were entirely opposite. Emma, you should get surgery to plump up your lips when you're older. With that face, cute clothes just won't suit you. Leave me alone. I'm not even bothered by it right now. You're really not cute, you know. Both your face and personality are too harsh. I've been ridiculed by my sister Isabella about my appearance since I was in elementary school, so we've never been close. Isabella's cunning trait is that she makes her insults sound like jokes in front of others. Even our parents probably don't realize she's seriously mocking me. If she said such things in front of John. To shake off these gloomy thoughts, I cheerfully called my parents. When John and I visited my parents' home to formally announce our marriage, Isabella, who got married 3 years ago, was eagerly waiting for us. Of course, Isabella's husband, William, was there too. Isabella and her husband lived near William's parents' home, about an hour away by Amtrak. Hello. I'm John Smith, dating Emma. I promise to make Emma truly happy. Please, be kind to us. Hey, John. No need to be so nervous, we won't bite. We're just thankful someone's willing to date Emma. From the first greeting, my parents were laughing at John's nervousness, and the atmosphere was lively and fun. John, dressed in a proper suit and well-groomed, even looked great to me, who's been with him for years. John, what do you do for work? Oh, I'm a systems engineer. Yes. Wow. Really? That's cool. Unusually, Isabella was being nice to my fiancé. She had always mocked my friends and partners as uncool. Well, John did look tall, handsome, and absolutely stunning today. Seeing the sparkle in Isabella's eyes, I felt a sense of superiority for the first time. Looking back, maybe the countdown to the end had already started then. Though you hear systems engineer, that's like gibberish to you, isn't it, sis? Stop it. Emma, you always make fun of me. But seriously, I have no clue about systems whatever. Sorry. I don't understand it either. What kind of work is it? Dad and William were laughing heartily, and John seemed to be enjoying himself throughout. My parents have a great relationship, the ideal couple for me. I hope John and I can be like them someday. In the evening, as Isabella and her husband were about to leave, we decided to have dinner together while driving them to the station. Hey, how about the four of us go on a trip? Maybe next year? What do you think, William? It was the first time Isabella had invited us on a trip. Perhaps she had matured while we were distant after her marriage. Yeah, that sounds good. We'd be happy to get along with Emma and John's family. Yes. William is a bit on the plump side, a gentleman with a soft demeanor. Honestly, I was surprised when he first came to greet us. No offense, but he wasn't the type I'd have expected for Isabella. I guess love and marriage are different things, I thought, oddly satisfied with this realization. I had hoped that as adults, my relationship with Isabella would improve, but that was a big mistake. For our first New Year's after marriage, we planned to spend the holidays with John's parents first and then visit my family. Isabella had returned home as well, but William had to leave earlier due to a prior commitment. Hey, since we're all here, let's go to the New Year's countdown together. Leaving our parents who wanted to stay at home, the three of us headed to a nearby city center. As we got close to the city, even though there was some time before the countdown, it was still bustling with lots of people. It's crowded. We better not get separated. Saying this, Isabella intertwined her arm with my husband John's. In that moment, I saw John's face turn bright red. It's not a big city, even with the crowd. Getting lost wasn't really a concern. It's nice to have someone tall beside you, it feels secure. Hearing her sweet voice made me irritable, but I didn't want to start the new year feeling bad, so I kept quiet. In the end, Isabella stayed arm in arm with John all the way from the city to home. I was also annoyed by John's smitten face. When we got back, my mom was busy preparing for relatives coming over in the afternoon. Hey, do you mind coming shopping with me? I want to buy a gift for William. Plus, it might be cheaper with the New Year sale. Sure. What about you, Emma? I wanted to help out my busy mom since I was finally home. I'll stay. Isabella, our uncles are coming soon, so come back quickly. I know. I'll just borrow John for a bit. Isabella said with a smirk, taking John's arm and leaving. Seeing her like that, even my mom had a wry smile. It's like you've got a cute little brother now. But mom's words aside, Isabella's behavior seemed more like a girlfriend than a sister. 3 hours later, Isabella hadn't returned, having taken John around with her. John and Isabella had become overly friendly, and even after returning, they kept close, chatting non-stop. The most irritating part was when John said in the car on the way back, "Isabella is really cute, isn't she?" I never expected to be this irritated right from the start of the year. I thought I would never return home for the holidays again. Then, in early spring, almost forgetting these events, I got a call from Isabella. Hey, how about we all go on a trip this May? It was the trip she had invited us on before we got married. The unpleasant memories of New Year's instantly came back. As I stayed silent, the voice on the phone changed to William's. As a wedding gift, I'll cover the travel expenses. Emma, is there anywhere you want to go? Unable to refuse William, we ended up planning a one-night trip to a hot spring spa. I think Isabella married William because he worked at a top-tier company. Yes, William comes from a wealthy family. Despite being in their late 20s with no children, Isabella quit her job right after marriage to become a housewife. I only have a sister, so having a cute little brother like John makes me really happy. Using the term brother as if it were a free pass, Isabella held John's hand and looped her arm through his during the trip. William, look! Don't I look like a kid next to John? Isabella was excited, while John looked embarrassed. William and I followed them. I wanted to relax at the inn, but to my dismay, Isabella had booked a room for 4. When we drank in the evening, Isabella leaned drunkenly on John. What really angered me was that John seemed pleased by it. Hey sis, don't get too clingy with John. It's disrespectful to William. Are you jealous, Emma? You have your cute moments. Couples should be close like us, right, William? I wanted to yell at her, but Isabella kept clinging to William, playing the loving couple. She was a genius at irritating me. When I got home and complained to John, he said, I can't be rude to Emma's sister, right? It's really a problem, with a troubled yet slightly amused expression. Inside me, there was a swirling, dark mass of frustration that just wouldn't go away. Now I understand it was my intuition kicking in. It was about a year after we got married when my mom had an accident. I got a call from my dad during work. Your mom's been in an accident. She's in critical condition. I could hear the tremble in my dad's voice over the phone. Mom had been on a trip with a close aunt since yesterday. The aunt, who was driving, also suffered severe injuries, including to her chest. They were close to home when the accident happened, and Mom was taken to a local hospital. Isabella returned home to help with the housework so Dad could be by Mom's side. Emma must be worried too, right? I'll take care of things here, so you should be with your mom as much as possible. Thank you. I'll go to the hospital right after work until Mom wakes up. John's kindness and love supported my anxious heart. At that moment, I was truly grateful for being married. But 5 days later, without our prayers being answered, Mom passed away. Sadly, she never regained consciousness. Why does she have to go before me? I at least wanted to say thank you one last time. Dad, unable to accept reality, didn't cry out loud but quietly said this, holding Mom's hand. His grief-stricken figure was so sad, I couldn't cry out loud either, just quietly wiping my tears. Next to me, Isabella cried loudly, as if crying for both of us. With Dad in a daze, I took charge of arranging the funeral. Due to the suddenness, we decided on a small family-only funeral at a nearby funeral home. The wake was the next day. After the meal following the service, Dad, Isabella, John, and I stayed overnight at the funeral home to spend the last night with Mom. William returned home once and would come back in the morning with his parents for the farewell ceremony. It doesn't feel real that she's gone. Yeah, it's true. Just the other day, she said she was bringing back souvenirs from her trip. While checking the flowers weren't wilting, we spent our last night with Mom. The family room for the overnight stay had a space with a sofa and table at the front and bedrooms at the back. Although there were 4 beds, Dad probably wouldn't lie down. I feel sick. Maybe it's because I haven't slept since yesterday. I'm going to get some fresh air. Eh? It's dangerous to go out alone at night. Emma, I'll go with Isabella, so please take care of your father. Okay. Please take care of my sister. On this day, ours was the only wake at the funeral home, and after the staff left, it was just us there. It felt even quieter after the staff left and John and Isabella went out. They returned after about 2 hours, bringing warm hot dogs from a convenience store. The next morning, we had a light breakfast and got ready, but there was still an hour and a half until the 10 a.m. start time. While the staff began preparations, Dad, like last night, sat beside Mom's portrait, lost in thought. Soon, I was supposed to do the final check of the funeral arrangements with the director. I had planned to include Isabella in the discussion, but when I looked around, she was nowhere to be found. I walked around the funeral home, but both Isabella and John had disappeared. Maybe she felt unwell again? With that thought, I decided to peek into the family room. As I reached for the doorknob, I heard a sound like a cat's meow from inside and felt a sudden jolt of shock. My heart started pounding heavily. A bad feeling crept over me, and when I slowly turned the doorknob, I found it locked from the inside. No way. I had been in charge of the funeral arrangements and had the key to the room. Quietly, I inserted the key into the lock and turned it. The lock clicked open with a small noise, but strange sounds continued to come from inside. Stepping silently into the family room, I noticed the door was sloppily closed, leaving a gap of about 4 inches. "Isabella." I heard John's voice from behind the door, making my heart leap. I knew in my head it was John with my sister. Still, part of me had hoped it would be William who arrived early. How could this be happening? Feeling like I was about to collapse, I quietly exited without making a sound. Taking a deep breath, I decided to attempt recording with my smartphone. Peeking through the gap in the door, I saw John and Isabella entangled, with their lower bodies exposed. "To invite me on a day like this, what a terrible daughter you are. Your mother would be sad. But we won't see each other for a while after this. And at least for now, we can forget the sadness." Despite the upcoming funeral, I found Isabella's behavior, seducing someone else's husband with a sly face, utterly disgusting. "Even if it's just for now, I'll make you forget your sorrow." I feel bad for Emma. I couldn't see her face, but I felt a hint of laughter in her voice. Thinking they must have been intimate somewhere last night too, my chest tightened. It's okay, she's strong. And compared to Isabella, no matter how much she cries, she'll just look ugly to me. Hey, she's still my sister, you know. John's words pierced my heart that had trusted him. I couldn't forgive the two of them laughing softly together, and in that moment, I was ready to burst open the door. I almost dropped the smartphone I was holding. But then, Isabella's next words made my hand stop dead. "But we have to thank Mom, don't we? Thanks to her, I got to spend 5 days with John. I wish she could have held on a bit longer though. Your mother was on our side, huh? From now on, pretend to worry about your father and come back home." Hee hee, John, you're such a bad boy. Were the accident and Mom's death just a lucky incident for them? Was John's kindness all this time just a lie to meet Isabella? All my anger, the trembling of my hands, and the pounding of my heart rapidly calmed down. I'll never forgive them. As I left the room, I heard Isabella's sweet voice saying one more time behind me. I had no doubts about what I was about to do. Even if Isabella's life ended, it wouldn't matter. After all, I'll never forgive her for as long as I live. Leaving the family room, I immediately headed to my father. By my father's side were already the family of the aunt who had been in the accident with my mother. I whispered to my father and decided to take the extended family to the family room. As we were heading there, the elevator doors opened, and Isabella's husband William's family and John's parents came out together. "Emma, are you okay? We came early to help out if needed." Surrounded by such kind people, I couldn't help but feel sad. "Thank you. I'm sorry to bother you right after arriving, but..." I quickly explained the situation, and we all quietly entered the family room. Then, I threw open the doors with both hands as hard as I could. Bang! The doors swung open and then slightly bounced back. On the disheveled sheets, John and Isabella, though clothed, were frozen in an embrace. I addressed my husband with a cold gaze. "John, what are you doing?" He scrambled away from Isabella and stood up. Spotting his parents among the relatives behind me, he was visibly shocked. No, this is... No, wait. It's not what it looks like. I felt sick, and John was just comforting me. Yes, that's right. Isabella has been feeling unwell since yesterday." Isabella and John were desperate. Not only their spouses, but also both sets of parents and relatives were present. "Emma, you must be misunderstanding something. John was only caring for me. I'm sorry if I caused any confusion. I apologize." Everyone, still unable to fully grasp the situation, furrowed their brows in confusion. With my mother's funeral about to begin, they couldn't believe such a thing was happening. Indeed, this situation could be misunderstood. But Emma, would John really cheat on a day like this? William's parents nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Isabella's face showed a hint of relief. "I'm truly sorry. I've always thought of John as a dear brother. Maybe Emma is jealous of how close John and I are, and mistook it for cheating." Her lips curled slightly, as if she was sure of her victory. My father put his arm around my shoulder. "So, it's all just my misunderstanding?" "Yes, of course. We wouldn't do such a thing on the day of Mom's funeral." "That's silly." Isabella, perhaps relieved, even had a faint smile on her face. "Then explain this misunderstanding." I played the video I had recorded earlier, with the volume turned up. The suppressed sounds echoed through the room.
Stop it, Emma! Stop it right now!
When I paused the video, William rushed over and grabbed Isabella by the collar. Isabella's face turned pale all at once.
William, this is a mistake! Something's wrong! Emma, please explain to them!
Isabella's eyes were desperately seeking my help. I didn't understand why she thought I would help her. As William turned to look at me, I just shrugged. He probably wanted to hit John. With a heavy sigh, William let go of Isabella.
I've tolerated your selfishness up till now because I thought it was cute. But sleeping with your sister's husband, especially on the day of your mother's funeral, that's beyond the pale. It's worse than a dog's behavior. William, it's not like that. I was just shocked about Mom and got carried away. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
I can't do this anymore. We're getting a divorce. Isabella collapsed onto the floor. At that moment, I pressed play on the video again. It was the part one couldn't forgive. The conversation between Isabella and John played out.
But we have to thank Mom, don't we? I got to spend 5 days with John. I wish she could have held on a bit longer, though. Looks like your mother was on our side. From now on, pretend to worry about your father and come back home.
I could feel my father's hand on my shoulder tighten. He let go of my shoulder and approached Isabella in silence. Slap. Even though it was an open hand, Isabella's body spectacularly flew across the room and landed on the floor.
What do you mean shocked and carried away? Someone like you doesn't deserve to attend Mom's funeral. Get out now!
As my father's roar echoed, John was also sent flying. My father-in-law had punched him.
Dad, it's not like that. I'm sorry. Please, forgive me. Let me stay here. Let me apologize to Mom.
Isabella cried and begged, but my father silenced her with another slap. She let out a cry, indescribable as a scream or a shout, and collapsed on the bed, sobbing. John knelt beside her, but the two were dragged out by the entire family.
Emma! Please! I was just seduced by your sister. Help me!
Incredibly, even in this situation, John reached out to me, begging. I was just disgusted. I didn't feel anything but contempt. I coldly brushed him off.
Don't touch me with your filthy hands. Get out, you're a stranger now.
Shocked by my words, John was led away, his mouth agape. From behind the door, Isabella's cries for Mom could be heard, but no one spoke another word as we headed to the chapel for the funeral service. John and I divorced soon after. He, with his tear-stained face, was forced by his parents to prepare the papers without objection. The alimony was paid in one lump sum by his parents, well above the going rate, without involving lawyers. From now on, his salary would be managed by his parents until he repaid them. Isabella and William also divorced soon after. Stop bringing shame upon us more than now, my father's words left Isabella unable to resist. She was probably shocked to see our gentle father, who never raised his voice, so angry. The alimony was paid by my father, but he didn't allow Isabella to return home. Isabella's life, once comfortably lived on William's money, drastically changed. She started working day shifts and night shifts to repay my father. I knew she was working to pay him back quickly. Isabella's only thought now is to quickly finish repaying the debt, as she doesn't know any other way to apologize to our father. Isabella keeps contacting me, but I ignore all her attempts. She's not even allowed to know where our mother's headstone is, so she can't even apologize to her. This must be the hardest punishment for her. By not forgiving her, I hope my sister lives with regret for the rest of her life. I have returned home and am spending peaceful days with my father. Recently, he finds solace in visiting places filled with memories of my mother. Even after her passing, my parents remain the ideal couple for me. Right now, I'm focused on my work, but I do hope to find a wonderful partner someday.